Hi, this is Keith Coogan, Project Nerd.
Hello and welcome to another episode of CF3 TV. That's Cult Fans, Films, and Finds on Project Nerd.
Woo, woo.
I'm Dane Michael.
And I am Jeff Johnson.
Are you sure you're not Hefe?
I am Hefe Johnson.
Okay.
Hefe Johannesson.
And this gentleman is a mighty thorn on our side week in and week out. Speaking, of course, of co-host Dames Marvs. Dames, what's Thor drinking today?
Well, the only thing he would drink, life water. Duh.
Straight from
Actually,
Asgard.
Straight out of his Asgard.
He does become a drunken fat buffoon later on, and I probably more Miller High Life, which I have down here. Ugh.
Yeah, your cosplay is dead on.
Yep.
Avengers Endgame Thor.
Fat Thor.
Dick.
Mine, on the other hand, I look, because I'm bald as fuck, I look like Stratos from Masters of the Universe.
You really
Yes,
do.
you do.
So I'm going to take these off. We have a great episode for you guys out there in YouTube land and Project Nerd land. We interviewed Keith Coogan, star of Adventures in Babysitting. And we're going to go ahead and introduce that. And afterwards, we're going to review the film for you. So stick around for everything. This is going to be a great episode. Am I telling the truth, guys? Or do you remember anything about the interview? It was like 6 months ago.
We had an interview 6 months ago?
Roll tape. So your character, Brad, in Adventures in Babysitting, has a Thor-sized crush on Elizabeth Shue's Chris character. Did Keith have a crush on Elizabeth too? I mean, no one here is going to blame you if you say yes.
We're not judgy.
I've been very vocal that I have. Horrible. And it was unrealistic. I turned 17 just a few weeks into shooting, and I think Elizabeth Shue was 22 at the time. So somehow in my mind, I was like, well, when we're older, that age difference won't be a big deal. So I'll make my move now. Asked her out, and she laughed in my face. And I just took that as a method actor and held on to that rejection from Lisa. If you were in the cool club, you get to call her Lisa. And then in the movie, when she's with, Dan or Breaking My Heart, you're just a kid. Then I could remember that moment where she laughed in my face when I suggested, well, actors sometimes date. So I set myself up. I knew there was no way it was going to happen.
Wait, you had the nerve to ask, while the shoot was still going? You didn't wait till,
It was during rehearsal.
Hey, I was just rehearsing.
Look at the nuts on this kid.
I wanted to get my
You know what?
time.
At least you got the last laugh, because she hasn't aged well at all.
Wow, that was harsh.
I'm kidding.
Somebody apparently
She's,
doesn't watch the boys.
She's still a knockout, man. Are you kidding me?
He's
Jeez.
obviously joking. We watched
Yeah.
the Cobra Kai episodes that she's in, and she looks exactly the same as she did back then.
Well, I think that if the aliens came and nuked the planet, all we would need is Hamlet 2, and everything would be okay again. And Mars Attacks.
There you
Side
go.
note. Yes.
So this was the first movie for Chris Columbus, his directorial debut. He'd go on to make a name, of course, in directing other kids in Home Alone, Christmas Chronicles 2, Harry Potter. Do you think that you guys were able to provide him with any great experiences as far as directing that he would take to those other projects? Because it's not like he went on to work with adults all the time, only. So
Oh, he had a unique gift to not talk down to us and get in the mud with us and help us make it make sense and be believable. He wanted the stakes to be kind of real. He's like, how would you really react? And he goes, fine, quicken the pace on that. Be broad, not too broad here, you know, and it would be really working with us to find it. There was no set way anybody wanted us to do or be. They really did allow us all to go through a process with each other. That's 4 main actors that all have to have like a specific chemistry for specific parts of the story. And rehearsal was key. Being able to rehearse and kind of improvise and paraphrase and find things, dig it out of the material that may have resonated well with specifically us as a cast. Everyone was incredibly supportive of it, and it helped it so that we always knew what was going on in the scene. There was never really a lot of blue screen, we were pretty anchored in real locations and stuff and we shot almost in continuity, almost in sequence. Not really. We had to jump around a lot because we were in 3 different cities. But Chris knows, you know, with having written Goonies and Gremlins and Young Sherlock Holmes, I believe he has a story on Reckless with Aidan Quinn. That's first. If you don't have a good story. So we had a script when we started rehearsals, and it had changed quite a bit. Not really much of our rehearsals, but they changed the structure. Instead of chasing down what looked like a copy of Sarah's toy chest, which had her toys in it, that also looked like a thing of plutonium that the mob had. And the end was on a bridge over the Chicago River or something, and they said, well, Annie, it's too close to the end of Annie, so they kind of rewrote it. They didn't like the idea of the kids with plutonium, and so they scrapped that.
Go figure.
A Bears, Gridiron Stadium sequence where we can't raise the money for the car. So Daryl steals all of the Bears jock straps and tries to sell them at the frat party to raise the money. So things changed, and we came up with what, you know, it's still outrageous, hanging off of buildings, and, you know, but a lot of it is pretty grounded in, you know, car chases that don't have huge jumps. You get a flat, you know. It's buyable, and then it helps you relate to it, I think, better. But it has, and one of the things, and Chris never mentioned this where we're going, but I know they fought for the PG-13 rating, even though it had too many F words, and a lot of other words, really a lot of other words, at least 6 other that you really can't say on television. And yet it's, you know, marketed to 13-year-olds and younger with parent approval. The MPAA guide isn't a law. The only law is you can't show NC-17 to underage. That's the only law, because now you're talking about minors and like graphic material. But if something's rated hard R, there's no law against showing a minor that, and that's why my mom plopped me down in the theater for A Clockwork Orange at 1.5.
Well, do you happen to have any fun or fond memories from the shoot at all for Adventures in Babysitting?
Every day, God, oh my God. So we started with a bang doing her Lisa's dance sequence, which was choreographed by Chris Columbus's wife, Monica Devereaux, who played the 17-year-old runaway babysitter, and also choreographed the blues bar scene. So they shot that. They shot a scene with Brenda, Spiker Tap with Drano. They shot Bradley Whitford at the door. And then that night, we shot running around in a tow truck with John Ford Newman. So it was like we were shooting half days, half nights, kind of getting the most out of everything we could. And then we started jumping around. The first interior set built was the Chop Shop, which was built in the same structure that they built the Associate Center, the Parents' Party. They only built 1 floor of the party. There was a distressed, kind of broken down version, which is the floor above. And then they just redressed that for the party. So there's really only 1 floor built, but then they made it look like 2. Those were the only major sets built. Oh, they did shoot in not the same interior bus station. They used another station for the interiors for Brenda's scenes. But they shot a scene. They wanted more Brenda. Notes from the studio was, we love Brenda. We need another Brenda beat because we kind of forgot about her. Chris thought it was great. They're like, actually, let's everybody forget about it and then have somebody go, what about Brenda? Oh, God, we got to go get Brenda. So they saved that for Don't Tell Mom with what happened to the babysitter. Anyway, different people involved. So they shot a thing with her and the hot dog vendor, who happened to be the head of extras casting in Canada for the Canadian version of the Screen Actors Guild. And they quickly wrote, David Simke, whoever, there might have been a writer's strike, so somehow a page of dialogue appeared. And it had all these great in-jokes and a check and, you know, slip me the cash, I'll slip you I don't have a wiener, all that great stuff. That was shot kind of in front of the chop shop set on just a two-walled tiled set to match the interior of the bus station. And they shot it around lunch. Like, everyone's like, look, what are they doing there? Banging something out with Brenda, with Penelope. And it winds up being one of the funniest scenes in the film.
Yeah. Was there anything that they had you kids do that they wouldn't allow kids to do on a Hollywood set nowadays? No,
because the John Landis trial for Twilight Zone, the movie, was happening at the time and was very highly publicized. The Screen Actors Guild insisted that no minors work past midnight. No exceptions, period. The children in question on Twilight Zone were killed at 4:30 in the morning or something like that. So it was imperative that Maya Bruton be wrapped at midnight. And also the safety we had. The only thing that was kind of sketchy, not really, was in the chop shop. We climb on a beam that's like 35 feet above the ground. And they do some intravision shots, like front projection shots that we shot in LA that make us look like you kind of see us for real, our faces, and the bad guys underneath it. Is because we just had pads. They had a scissors live up with these big pads that were just a few feet underneath us, and wires. If we really fell, we'd hit this pad that's right below us. If we fell off of that, then there's trouble.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, all the vehicle stuff, the stunt coordinators were fantastic. We felt safe.
So I have a stunt related question for you. I'm watching this and I'm seeing you get stabbed in the foot, and I'm like, that's his foot. Was it not your foot, and how the hell did they do that?
It was, and so they said, here was the plan on set. We're going to put a fishing wire, a guideline, and if you kind of use a Sharpie and paint it black, you don't see it on film. And then we're going to slide, we're going to put these little hook thingies on the switchblade, and it's going to slide down and then go into, and I don't know who came up with the idea, but it's an old school technique. Just put the knife in the shoe and attach some filament, the same filament, just to the very end, the hilt of the knife, and then roll the film backwards and pull it out. So in dailies, it comes in and you just see thunk, and the knife goes in.
So, okay. Shot in reverse. That makes sense.
If you look closely, you can see the pre-scored hole where the knife goes in. So if you go frame by frame, you'll see the hole is there as the knife is coming down, and it just goes into that because it's coming out of the hole. All right, what was the question?
Oh, what do you think of the last shot of the film where they basically linger on you, looking out the window longingly?
Well, I get, like, the last shot of my character is kind of an iris out, where he ain't getting the girl, and he closes the blinds. But that she kisses him, and they freeze on them,
Oh, that's right.
Sarah goes, kiss him, and they have a laugh and everything. It wraps everybody up pretty good. Sarah goes to bed, had a fun night. Daryl had the night of his life so far. Brad got to get close to Chris and got his heart broken, but life goes on. And I love that line. It's so Breakfast Club, where he goes, if we see each other in school and you ignore me as usual, that's okay. And she says, I don't ignore friends, Brad. And I was just like, oh, it's so Breakfast Club. I love that. I love the muse. Chris Columbus brought in the Chicago and the blues element, that it had to have authentic blues. And a few songs recorded for the film, like the Southside Johnny and the Juke songs. And the Babysitting Blues. Those three were recorded for the film. Everything else was, classic blues.
Was the babysitting blues sequence, was that always part of the script as far as you know?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And it had temp lyrics when we first got the script. And we all looked at each other and we were kind of like, all right, a gang on the L train, I buy it. You know, the thing with the hanging off the building, fine. I've seen stuff like that before. And then I went, the blues bar thing, that's either really going to work or it's not going to work. So they took their time. I love that everybody asked the question, what happened to the bad guys to get out? Did they sing the blues? Because kind of end that sequence with Albert Collins going, no, they did place for that singing the blues. I say they did. That would be a great short. They have to sing the blues to get out. We recorded the song on a Sunday, and while the cast showed up, Albert Collins and the Icebreakers were finishing up a shuffle that is what they're playing when we come on stage, and they did it in 1 or 2 takes. And then they said, "Okay, the babysitting blues is up." And we watched Lisa do her bit, and she was just great. Albert Collins had to sing his bit, and then the rest of us did me and Maya and Anthony did our backups. Was tone deaf, perhaps, trying a harmony on Baby Baby, and I'm sharp or play. Can't tell because I don't know what note I was going for. And then Anthony Rapp went to Interlochen for musical theater, so he's like hitting like a flat ninth, and I'm like, wow, nice harmony. So we recorded it, and they said we'll all have a temporary mix on set the next day. We were shooting the blues bar sequence at Fitzgerald's, which is where Paul Newman gave Tom Cruise the Balabushka in Color of Money. Same bar.
Nice.
So we get there, and they've got a temp mix, which sounds great. And it's missing about 8 bars, because at the end they have to repeat a bit of the rollout to truly get us out of the bar. When we kind of do high fives and we're leaving, it's right before he stops the 2 bad guys. You'll hear a repeated like 4 or 8 bar section. You're like, oh, that's actually the same exact guitar lick. Listen to it and you'll hear that. So we had the what we'd recorded minus the kind of repeated end section to get us out. And it sounded great for a temp mix. And Albert stayed in a back room. They were off of the stage, so we didn't have to walk far or get up and down. He had kind of some foot problems, and so didn't want to walk too much. So they just kind of bring him out of the back office where Paul Newman gave Tom Cruise the actual. That's where Albert would just chill. Albert, we're ready for you. He'd come out, and his dialogue is amazing. They start the song. Albert Collins had never lip synced before in his life. So he, never, whatever he'd done in his career to promote, he'd always performed live. He'd never lip synced. So he, is a performer that likes to feel it and improvise it. And he realizes, oh, I've got to stick to the lick I did yesterday. Oh, okay, got it. And so if you watch, you'll see him not struggling, but he is reaching the learning curve in like 3 takes really quickly to learn. And so his lip sync I thought was very solid. And it feels like the audio quality, the mixing is so great. It sounds like she's on a live mic. And it somehow is believable. I've seen music in movies, non-musical movies where you just go, nah, but it's blues. Everyone knows the chord structure in blues. And you could put something together that quick. You could, good country key. Boom, you're off and running.
Right.
It was like the only method of improv music that you could really get away with pre-rap battle.
There you go. Yeah.
2 12-hour days to shoot it with 3 cameras, and they rolled 13,000 feet of film in 2 days. And then cut it. So a lot of the cuts are live cuts from one camera to the other rather than a different take.
Wow.
And welcome back to CF3 TV, this week's film, Adventures in Babysitting. It is Oak Park, Illinois, and high school senior Chris Parker is in love with her boyfriend, Mike Todwell. When he stands her up and cancels their date, she reluctantly accepts to babysit the Anderson kids, Brad and Sarah. But her friend Brenda decides that she needs to run away from home. But when she gets to the train station, She has a sudden change of mind. She begs Chris to rescue her from that bus station. Well, it looked like a train station to me. Chris makes a deal with Brad and Sarah when she is ready to drive to the city. Brad's friend Daryl Coopersmith overhears the plan and decides to blackmail him. However, when they're on the expressway, they get a flat tire, and they got no money, they got no help, till a mechanic named Pruitt stops his tow truck and offers to take him to his garage. They do agree, but this is just the beginning of a big, unforgettable night of hilarious adventures in Chicago. This is Adventures in Babysitting. All right, Dane. All right, Dames. Did you have any adventures when you were getting babysat?
Oh my God, Dames has a great one, but
I can't even
I
talk
don't
about
know
it.
that you can't tell it. I mean,
I can't tell
The
it.
statute of limitations is long expired.
Doesn't
it's
matter.
bad. It's not his fault either.
All right, audience. If you have any fun stories, put them in the comments. We'd love to see them.
Dean, I
Just
wasn't going to bring it up, but like,
Trust us when
yeah,
we
just
say,
trust
I know that you're thinking of the same one too.
us. I'll have to be.
Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention what I'm drinking, and Jeff reminding us that this takes place in Chicago. I'm drinking some Goose Island 312, and I did not know until now that Goose Island was founded in Chicago.
Yeah.
But I'm drinking a beverage appropriate for the region that this film takes place in.
Good for you.
I had an energy drink, but I already finished it before we started recording.
Good for you.
Jeff, do we have a rev it up for this episode?
Actually, we do, because there's quite a few hot rods to get revved up about in this movie. Now, you all might recognize the station wagon. It is not the same one as like Christmas Vacation or any of that, but it has made its appearance in a few other movies. But you're also talking about the Buick Electra station wagon, the main vehicle of choice that gets shot at, flat-tired, and towed, and taken on a wild chase itself. But if you look around in the background, you see Beamers. The red Camaro is pretty obvious, the so cool license plate. You also have an 86 Cadillac Brougham, which is a car that was stolen when they were getting away from the big fight scene at the truck driver's house of residence while he was beating up his wife, or not beating up his wife, beating up his wife's lover. And I noticed the Ferrari 308 in the garage of the chop shop and a 78 white Corvette Stingray, which was not listed on the Internet Movie Database for Cars.org. I am going to be submitting an addition to that because I saw that and I thought that was one of the best looking cars in the movie. So that's rev it up for you.
So many cars.
There's a lot. So I stopped writing them down.
Shop in it and stuff, and broken down cars
Yeah.
playing a major part in the film. Cool stuff. James Marves, was there anything Playboy related in this movie at all for the Playboy Watch segment?
Yeah, I'm very curious about this.
Yeah.
Sadly, gentlemen, the whole entire movie plot was based around a Playboy. You know what? I looked up and down in my collection like 100 times. This would have been most likely in November, based on the gear that they were all wearing. Like November, not quite like into December and January and February where there's snow everywhere, of 86. The film didn't come out until July 3rd of 87, so it had to be the previous year. Dumb me looked all over for this Playboy. Doesn't exist. Because Elizabeth Shue did do an actual photo shoot for this fake magazine, which she said was the hardest thing she's ever had to do in film, and that she did not derobe fully to do it. But yeah, the whole film is basically centered around this Playboy magazine that they show. I sent Dane a picture of it earlier. That's clipped straight from the film. That is Elizabeth Shue on the front. And she appears on other photos inside, and she, as a look-alike. It's not really supposed to be her in the film, clearly. But yeah, that's where we're at for Playboy.
As an aside, would they ever, if they remade this, today, would they ever have the side, like one of the, I guess, impetus for a lot of the adventures being a high school girl looking like a Playboy model and guys rubbernecking the whole movie because of it.
Making their dog
I thought
calls.
that was just hilarious. The whole time, boy, you look a lot like this Playboy model.
But yeah, this is like the most, as far as like cult films that we'll cover, this is like the most involvement that I think Playboy can have in the actual plot of the film without it being like Playboy the movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. There is no Mad About the Movies this time, but we are going to do one of our favorite segments, Total Recast.
For the memory of a lifetime, recast, recast, recast.
Okay, guys, I never get tired of that, first of all.
Me neither.
So we have an option here because although Keith is not with us here, he actually did record a Total Recast segment for this film. Do you want to hear his first, or do you want to go first
Yeah,
and
go
then
for
listen to his?
No, let's rock that bad boy.
Okay, so we're going to start you guys off with Keith, Total Recasting Adventures in Babysitting. Total recast for Adventures in Babysitting. And again, you can recast somebody from the original film, age appropriate, or you can
This is going to hurt.
reboot.
And this is not me as a professional. I think Elizabeth Shue is so rock solid and is obviously the only Allie, the only Chris Parker. But one of the other girls that auditioned and screen tested, I got to stand 10 feet away as Jamie Gertz, Valerie Bertinelli, and Phoebe Cates auditioned for Chris Parker. The scene was at the door with the Bradley Whitford character. So they're shooting that. They have a little door frame up, and they have her open it. It's all lit. They're shooting with Panavision cameras. It was basically a camera test and a screen test at the same time. And I got to sit there and watch. And then they broke for lunch, and somehow I was at a Sizzler with Phoebe Cates, having lunch with Phoebe Cates. I had a huge crush on Phoebe. Almost as big as the one I had on Elizabeth Shue when we started filming. So that would be one I would love to see, Phoebe as Chris Parker. Just to see. That would be great. I know she'd worked with Chris before on Gremlins, and kind of instantly has his kind of, thing. Maybe you don't need that when you make it. Maybe you need someone who's not connected to Chris in some way. I don't know.
Top that, you guys.
I read actually that they did not want to make this movie unless Molly Ringwald was the main character.
Yeah, I saw that too.
They were like not gonna make the movie. Am I gonna go now? I'm gonna go now. She's 32 years old, but give me Emma Stone as the main character.
She still looks young.
Yeah.
I actually thought she was older than 32 by now.
You can pull it off.
It's just a sign that I'm getting older. Let's see.
Dude, as if we need any more signs.
I don't even have to lean my head down to show you. So I've got a total recast here.
Give it a me.
I would like to have seen Josh Brolin in the role of Dan, who saves the day and gives him the $45. George Newbern was good, but I really would have liked to have seen Josh so that we could have our Karate Kid and Goonies worlds collide.
He has
in
a
this
Columbus
film.
tie-in already.
So that's my recast, Josh Brolin as Dan.
I like it. Made my nipple hard. Just one.
Jeff, hook us up.
I had a couple. I know you wouldn't want to replace her. I wouldn't want to replace her, but if you had to, I was actually going to replace Elizabeth Shue with Leah Thompson. I think she would have been age appropriate around that time. They were about the same age anyway. But I was actually going to replace Chris, the douchebag boyfriend. Or was that Mike? No, that was Mike.
Yeah, Mike. I was like, Chris was the main.
Oh, you did.
Chris was the nice one at the end.
You don't like Bradley Whitford?
I like him. He looked way too old in this movie for me, though. Like, oh my God, he looks like he's like 34 and trying to date a 17-year-old. not the best image. I actually would have gone with the young Johnny Depp at that time.
Okay. Like
I don't hate it. Charlie Sheen would work too.
And as one little bonus one, I'd go with Jonathan Banks as the criminal mastermind that was chasing the kids at the end.
Oh, okay. Thanks. So that is total recast. Let's go over some of our favorite lines of dialogue. Anything quotable here?
Thor's a homo.
I wondered if one of you was going to throw that one out there.
Thor's my hero.
It's his favorite line, you guys. He's trying to get canceled at every turn.
You gotta be shitting me.
Here we go. We're not climbing that. You could poke your eyes out. Yeah, well, they might poke our brains out.
Quality.
You know, it's like Dairy Queen. You really only get one flavor.
Watch your mouth, you big city scum sucker.
Oh, wait, no one leaves this place without singing the blues.
That's like
I
the
love that
very
one.
iconic line, I want to say.
That is probably the one.
Singing the blues. Y'all gotta sing the blues.
This is her. That was her Marty McFly moment.
Yep.
On the stage. Did you guys know, and I'm just throwing this in because the Thor line, that in the original script, she was addicted to like He-Man and She-Ra. Christopher Columbus is like, I don't know who the fuck that is. So I love Marvel. It's Thor now. So
Thor, you gotta love how Thor
D'Onofrio, man.
was such a big like part of this movie. Maya Bruton here as Sarah was obsessed, and I like that it was a girl that's obsessed with superhero. Very original little theme that makes this movie more memorable. You guys forgot a big one.
I got two more.
Okay, go.
All right, baby. Chill out. Shit.
Jeff had to be like Eddie.
Was that Joe Gipper? That said that?
No, that was during the gang fight on the subway train, and she got the knife, and the dude's like, all right, baby, chill out. Shit.
I got one that made this PG-13. And this movie, by the way, is set to air on Disney's Plus streaming service anytime now. And I believe it might be edited out.
Shit.
So, not that one. Don't fuck with the babysitter.
There's actually two F-bombs in that scene, not just one.
Never mind. I was going to say, going back to our conversation about babysitting.
Oh.
God. Someday, Jeff will hear the story after we're done recording. But if you're worried whether or not that might be edited out of the Disney Plus, you can buy this for really cheap on Blu-ray, can't you guys? Because
mine is open and yours are still sealed. What is wrong with you two?
Yeah, I resealed it.
No, you didn't.
This is my third.
I've never
copy.
seen the movie. I'm just being honest with you. No, I'm just kidding.
Jeff, this is just my
Well,
downstairs bedroom copy.
Oh, okay. So that's why it's still shrink wrapped, so you don't get it a mess. But there are no extras on this. Just FYI. Yes, this is a Touchstone Disney / product. Transfer's okay, but this is a worthy edition right now. Hopefully, it gets a special edition at some point from somebody else, but not likely.
But you guys, that's why we do this show, because we're making better extras for this movie than you can get on the Blu-ray. So
Hell yeah.
it is what it is. And that's going to bring us to another segment called I Deserve More Credit, in which we take turns talking about somebody who worked on the film in any capacity who deserves more credit than what they've done in this particular production. Jeff Johnson took us out.
I'm going with Penelope Ann Miller. She has not had the most star-studded career, but she's had some great flicks that have come around since her time in this as Brenda. Boy, they're very different movies. She's done The Relic. She's done one of my personal favorites, The Shadow, with Alec Baldwin. She's in Kindergarten Cop and also Carlito's Way. So she's had a very diverse career. I think she deserves a little more credit.
I agree. I was like really impressed with her resume when I looked up, who is that? And then I was like, oh, I know the name for sure.
Saw her name in the credits, and I'm like, oh, that's who I'm picking.
Yeah. Okay. Dames, who deserves more credit?
Go with Anthony Tony Rapp, who played Daryl Cooper Smith in this film. He was in a little film that you might want to call, and he looks dazed and confused in this particular shot. Actually, it looks like Mac and me in that shot.
Oh, God.
But he played Tony Olsen in Dazed and Confused.
One of the best comedies of all time.
That movie's great.
His face is in just so much. So he definitely deserves more credit than just an almost nothing character sidekick. They underused him in this film.
I thought he really stole the movie from everybody almost.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and with very little given to him. But what a great character! What a great character! Yeah. I didn't touch her, man. I'm just a child.
But I had her tongue halfway down my throat.
I didn't.
I'm glad none of us like doubled up on our picks because and Jeff, you said his name earlier when I showed the picture of Thor. But Vincent D'Onofrio was in a very small part in this film. Didn't have many lines. He was mainly cast because he had the build that they were looking for, I guess. But that same year, Vincent was in Full Metal Jacket, so that was his breakout year in film. He was Private Pyle, very memorable role in that. He's gone on to do so many things. Mystic Pizza, JFK. He has a delicious role as Orson Welles in one scene in Ed Wood, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Men in Black.
That character was crazy.
He's the best version of Kingpin in the Marvel TV universe that was on Netflix.
Yes, so there you go. He in fact finally did make it into the real Marvel universe as a character, playing the villain Kingpin. So he rocks. And
this one go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I was just gonna say I liked how the movie didn't have credits. So when I saw him, I'm like, who the hell? I'm like, oh my God, that's Vincent D'Onofrio with hair, and he's thin and got muscles. I was like, holy shit.
You could have done a lot of different extra credits in this film. I mean, there's so many ways you could have went.
Like Bradley Whitford.
That's what I thought you. That's what I thought you were going to do. So I didn't take him. But Anthony Rapp, his character, rocked my world in this film. So
yeah, he rocked all of our worlds. And how did this film do at the box office, Dames Mars?
Well, I'm glad that you asked, Dane. This one made $34,368,475 worldwide on a budget of only $7 million. So that's quite a nice turnaround for a babysitting flick. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
I wonder if $1 million of that went to the license to get Playboy in this movie.
They're pretty much handing out their efforts.
Yeah.
I would think they would love the notoriety that comes with being in that
Disney flick. Yeah,
because I'm sure they were like, "Oh, is Elizabeth Shue going to do it?" And they're like, "No, this is the only way you're going to get her." All right.
Oh,
rock and roll. Well, let's give our final thoughts for the cult filmometer. We did also ask, obviously, our guest, Keith Coogan, to give a rating for this film. And there's a little bit of discussion that goes along with this, too. So we're just going to throw this one out first. And he is going to rate it, but we're going to save all three of our scores till the end after we give our thoughts. So what would you rate Adventures in Babysitting for our patented cult filmometer, 0 to
Dun,
1?
dun, dun.
Here's where I have a problem with this, is that it was just like Warner Brothers and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. It was a theatrical release with a healthy theater number. Wasn't number one at the box office, but it made its money back and paid for advertising and publicity and healthy residuals, and then continued to be licensed over the years. So cult, when a movie makes money, I always had thought of cult movies that were art for art's sake and never had kind of an economic goal. Here, you want to make a movie for so many million, turn around a negative pickup, sell it to Touchstone Pictures, which is really Walt Disney Company. You want to have a healthy release. Adventures in Babysitting, second week, box office went up, and they increased theaters. It hung in theaters for weeks. This is back when you played a movie more than 2 weeks. And so we felt it was very successful for what it was. It wasn't Inner Space, which opened on the same weekend and grossed $100 million, but it also didn't cost what Inner Space cost. And I wonder if the long run, Katzenberg, who was presiding over Disney at the time, looked down and goes, nice little performer. So for me, cult means it lost money. It's Ed Wood. It's just bad filmmaking that, and there's no such thing as a bad movie because they're so hard to make. Somewhere there's a passion to stage this and do it and film it and cut it and show it to people. So, but there's enough subversive stuff because of Chris Columbus and David Simpkins that there are a lot of stuff in there. The language in there, that's not a mainstream family picture. So, okay, I'll go with the cult thing. I can't score it higher than Don't Tell Mom because Don't Tell Mom seems to have even more subversive elements and more of a wit and adult-ish to it that it's not trying to talk to as broad of an audience. Adventures in Babysitting would like everybody to see this. And that's why they fought hard for a lower PG, 13 rating so that more kids could see it. Obviously, you want them to pay to see it, and bring their parents. But that wasn't the case. When Adventures in Babysitting came out, parents went to go see another film and drop their kids off alone to watch Adventures in Babysitting. Better monitoring, man. So I'll give it for cult. I don't know if it qualifies for cult, but let's go 81.
That segment in which he disparaged us.
Don't eat chocolate, your acne.
Yeah, dude. It's already showing up on the dome.
That segment in which Keith disparaged us for our definition of cult, which we keep a wide definition for it because we just want to do whatever movies we want, basically. So I like how everybody gives a shit about it all the time, but everyone we've had on basically has a different definition for it, which means that we're in the right.
Exactly.
Dude, I always think, I'll just say this. Cult is short for culture, and movies are culture. So,
whoa! James Marv's putting the smack down. But anyway, thank you, Nestle Crunch, for bringing this segment to us.
Look at her face. She's like,
she wants that bar.
Me. She's like, you love me.
And
she'll take she'll take the wrapper off that bar before she takes anything else off of him.
Jesus, Jeff.
Boom.
All right, let's do this. Damesy Marvy Poo.
You mean Ames versus
Damesy Marvy Poo. So building off that 81. And again, wait until the end to reveal your score. But
right.
What was your final thoughts?
I've already predicted where I think this is going to go on the list. But here we go. So this film, I agree with them. It's not as good as Don't Tell Mom for me. I think what the off-putting thing about this film for me was when things. I mean, the setup is brilliant, but when things go awry, it's very not conducive to watching and having it be entertaining. Like the stuff that goes on is not normal what you would see in this type of movie. The party scene definitely belongs, but the rest of it, I was just like, what am I watching? It was very hard for me to watch after the tire. From that point on, I was just like, I had to watch it like 4 times to get through the entire thing. I liked it because I like the Playboy piece. That element is another weird thing, but it was made for a good segment on the Playboy stuff, because we'll literally never come across that again. The casting is great. I love the little girl. The parents seem a little bit just in their own worlds, like not good parents, really. Not bad parents, but not great parents. Girl hanging off a building, brilliant. With her Thor, meets Thor in person. And she's like, it is Thor. It's great. Every kid wants to meet their hero. And then have them turn out the way that the heroes are supposed to. Like when I met Kevin Smith, he's everything you want him to be. She meets Thor and he's like kind of a jerk, and then all of a sudden he's like, all right, he comes around. Spoiler alert, sorry. But yeah, those are my thoughts. It's a fun movie. The adventures are just what's weird about it to me. So with that, I'll defer to Jeff.
Hey, babysitting is dangerous. Well, for me, I liked this movie as a kid. I never really loved it, though. I never really pegged that, Keith Coogan was in both this and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead until years later. But I think Keith definitely did a better job in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, but he did a really good job here. Nice to play 2 different characters for him. I liked the movie, but like Dames, I feel like once the misadventures started going, it felt way too scripted and way too convenient at times. It didn't feel like very organic. I don't think I cared about that much as a kid, but as an adult, I kind of do now, where I'd like things to make more sense instead of bing, bang, boom, like a domino line where, oh, we hop into this car, we go here, we do this, and then we go here, and then we do this, we go here. And it felt like we were picking things from different movies.
It's like a board game.
Back to the Future references. Yeah, it's like a board game.
You think it's like a board game almost. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
You got Back to the Future, you got Ferris Bueller, you got a bunch of different movies this movie is pulling things from. Yes, you want to pull from what works, but you can't just slam it all together and call it a sandwich. And that's what it felt like the second half of the movie turned into, was just a mishmash of a bunch of different ideas and see what worked. Some things I liked and I had a fun time watching. I loved the Blues House segment. I think the soundtrack's really awesome in this movie, though. Dane will probably get into that a little bit, knowing him. But it's a fun movie, definitely worthy to have in the collection. I just don't think I would rate this one nearly as high as other movies I've seen, but definitely worth watch, and it is fun to watch again. You're going to finish that Nestle Crunch Bar? Or you're going to share that bad boy? Oh, bastard.
All right. So this movie made me buy a Nestle Crunch Bar, which I have not had in a decade or more, probably.
7 seconds.
I didn't even know if they still made them. You guys are right. This movie gets very uneven. It starts off like a normal movie that you expect, but it gets really dark. I don't think they should have gone with PG-13, actually. I think they should have gone straight PG, abandoned some of these inane plots, and just made like a more hijinks-worthy adventure instead of like a very dark. It gets very dark in places, and it's at night in rough Chicago, and it just seems like it wants to be 2 things, and trying to walk the tightrope between a PG and an R, and they're like settling for a PG-13. They should have just picked one or the other, and they should have picked PG because obviously it's about kids. So they made a mistake. I don't think Chris Columbus, his next kid-related movies were PG-13 again, right? until like a Harry Potter,
Yeah.
when they decided to go really dark, you know. But I think that's what holds this movie up from being great. So you guys are right, and you touched upon that. And Jeff, you mentioned enough about the music. I don't really have anything to add. It was cool. I thought Calvin Levels as Joe Gipp or Gipper was underrated, and I'm surprised that his career didn't take off after this. He was very cool, and
dude, with his Roy Orbison hairdo, it was amazing.
he created some like comic relief, you know, for this, which was necessary because, like I said, it got too dark to be, I guess, super enjoyable and super rewatchable. But I know people do love it. Let's reveal our scores.
Oh, and
Okay. Let's see what the patented cult thermometer has to say.
You see? You're stupid minds. Stupid.
It's a 78.75 on the cult thermometer.
all right, on.
78.75. What's that? Between just above Howard the Duck and just below Joysticks at 81.25.
Ooh.
I had it between Joysticks and Poltergeist, which would have been 81.25 and 86.25. That's where I thought it would fall, but it was one below that.
Somebody had to just bring the lowest score.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're
You know
welcome.
what? This is crazy. I entered Jeff's as a 73. I could have sworn he did a 73.
No. Recalculating.
Oh
So you
my
have
God.
a 70. You have a 75. I had an 83. James, you had a 78.
Yeah.
Okay, and Keith's 81. It's a 79.25.
Still doesn't move.
It doesn't move.
It's still in the same spot.
It's still there. Still between.
Our first ever redo, and we're gonna leave it in. So.
Wonder how many times Elizabeth Shue had to redo the pole dancing scene with her post on her 4-post bed earlier in the movie.
Was that during the credits?
No, that was during the opening when she was singing and dancing and getting dressed for the date.
What a weird
Yeah, that was the opening.
And she started rocking the fence post. Or not the fence post, but the bedpost.
Keith Coogan's on her butt.
This is Keith Coogan. This is Anthony Rapp.
Boy, I wonder where they wanted the eyes to go.
Well, that's Adventures in Babysitting for you. Until next time.
Jeff, I just have one question for Jeff to close this down. What do you, Jeff Johnson, Hefe Johannesson, believe is a good per hour wage for today's babysitter per child?
I don't know. I don't have any kids, but
That's why I'm asking you.
Whatever.
I'd
whatever
probably
minimum
go
wage.
25 an hour personally. But
Whatever minimum
25
wage,
an
you
hour?
should never go below that.
Please have kids and hire me. Jesus Christ.
well, are your kids going to be hell children from hell, or like from
I don't
our last
think
episode
that-
Overboard, or are we talking like actually good kids? I
I
mean,
don't think that
if
ever
we're talking
mattered.
good kids, I'd probably go 10.
I think it's a sliding scale, and it has to. It depends on how many, what ages, how rambunctious, but it should never go below minimum wage. Right?
Jeff, I'll just say this, and then Dane just shut it down. My parents never paid any babysitter that babysat me and Dane over $25 for the entire time, and she showed me her.
Here on CF3, have fun that's everlasting, binging on cult films and totally recasting, interviewing stars and making fun of Dave's marks. What's your favorite line and what's your